Have you ever felt that you're leaving chips on the table? By that I mean that, sure, you're not complete chaos, you're going the right direction, but sometimes you get out of alignment. Or sometimes you don't get there as fast as you think that you should be getting. Sometimes you get stuck and lose traction. And then all of a sudden, sometimes you get speed and move very fast. Well, that's very normal, and that's actually your biology letting you know that you're out of alignment. Let me show you how in this video. Let me give you a simple example. You might have felt throughout your life the winter blues. You might have felt the exhaustion that comes after daylight savings time. You might have felt the ups and downs throughout the year, including the very hype moments throughout the spring and the summer, maybe even having a hard time going to sleep, whether it's in the summer or sometimes it can happen in the winter when your time clock is out of whack. Now, if you keep those in consideration, this roller coaster of emotions throughout the year start to make sense. There's drastic changes that happen throughout the year that by not being conscious and understanding how to change your behaviors to match those environmental changes can lead to frustration, can lead to anxiety, can even lead to depression, can lead to confusion, and the list just goes on and on. So perhaps there's an explanation. Even though you're normal, even though you on paper are thriving, even though from the outside everything looks right, you have achieved a certain level of success, maybe that explains why you feel that you're leaving chips on the table. There is a cyclical pattern happening in front of our eyes, and we fail to recognize it. Let me give you an example of organisms that do a better job than humans. Even the grass has a genetical switch up and down. When we go from winter to spring, the grass goes from yellow to green. That is a very simple example. If you want a more complex one, is the bees. Where are the bees in the wintertime? How do they survive? I don't see them around. It happens that they have a masterpiece of year-round patterns that they have developed to thrive. An example is that they breed a different kind of bee in the fall time because these bees are bigger, stronger, and that's why they survive the winter. The queen goes in the middle of the hive around the smaller, the younger bees, and then the bigger ones start packing around the outer layer, and they create a circle where they start vibrating. They flap their wings and their muscles, and they get between 90 and 100 degrees in there. And they survive the winter because of this big adaptation. I mean, just think about the level of synchronicity and understanding of the environment that takes the bees. Don't think for a second that you're different. You just don't recognize it. We have survived because of the same adaptation the bees have had on our own ways. When the winter arrives, we preserve energy, we save resources. Essentially, we grow fat. That has been a mechanism that up to this day we still live on. That might explain why you are more lead towards eating carbs, sugars, heavier foods, why you might be led towards staying indoors and in the couch and perhaps eating chips and watching TV more than during other times of the year. Perhaps that explains why even though you want to work out, you don't. There are many examples. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And this happens all year round because our survival instincts reign our metabolism. They reign our hormone production. Everything is in synchronicity with the environment, whether we want to understand it or not. When we understand it, we thrive. Life looks different, just like the bees in the wintertime. If we don't acknowledge that, then we can explain the anxiety, the confusion, the frustration, the winter blues, daylight savings time adaptations. The list goes on and on and on. What I want you to understand in this video is that becoming aware is the first step. And I don't have the amount of time to explain you in one single video, but if we are going to get something out of this one is that you become aware. Once you're able to understand that, then we can start working in becoming more aware, because this is a long-term journey. The seasons change. We have recognized the seasons as a humanity. That's why we are here today. Once we realize that planting in the spring yield a better result than planting in the fall, we started to thrive as a humanity. And you can do the same thing, that's my invitation, is to start considering what can you gain from understanding the rhythms throughout the seasons. And I will give you a few examples. It's not just the weather. It's not just the temperature. It's not just the lighting. There are social dynamics that change with the seasons. There are very specific ways that geographic areas experience the seasons compared to other geographic areas. And depending on where you live and what time of the year you are applying a behavior, it will have the greatest impact in your well-being and, more importantly, your ability to achieve more with less effort. Because at the end of the day, that's why this is important. Is that if you want to achieve more with less effort, you have to start paying attention to the environmental changes so that you can align your lifestyle, your routine, your habits, your behaviors with the seasonal cues of the environment. The environment will give you clues. You will observe them and adapt your behaviors. You will do them repeatedly for a certain period of time. And then that will become your routine for the specific season, because what we know is that the season will change. And here is where I want things to click for you. And is that as seasons change, if you don't have a way to adapt to them that is systematic, that allows you to document, to become aware, and to develop a specific routine for that environmental condition, that very specific environmental condition that is very different 6 months from now, then you're not going to be able to achieve more with less. You're going to start experiencing friction, resistance. You are not going to be biologically aligned with your environment. So I have created a framework that allows you to do just that. And my invitation to you is to give it a try, check it out. We have many different ways that you can get plugged into the movement. Just look at the description. And by the way, if you got any value out of this video, please like and subscribe. We put content about the seasons, about the environment, about sciences that allow us to explain and understand and leverage them so that we can achieve more with less. Thank you for watching.